Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles, and I welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And in today's episode, the topic is, are the Lakers in big trouble? So that's the topic I'm going to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also be on the lookout for our Dreamerspro Premium community, and also be on the lookout for Dreamerspro.com. That's also on the way. So anyway, let me get into the topic here about this particular video here. So there's some big news that came out with the Lakers last night that I want to get to in today's video. Something that kind of surprised me. Now, last night when I first saw the news, the first thing that came to my mind was, do we do a live stream? Then I was like, no, let me do something a little bit more put together. So today we decided we'll rather do an episode and dedicate it to what's happening with the Lakers there. So as y'all know, the Lakers have been the favorites all season to win the NBA title, justifiably. Why? Because they just won the title in the bubble. Recently, Lebron James is having another standout year, another great year, to be honest with you. And it's actually remarkable for him to be playing this well at his age, at the age of 36 years old. He's averaging 25.5 points per game, getting you 8 rebounds and 8 assists. So he's averaging 25, 8, and 8, which is remarkable. Shooting 50% from the field, 38% from the three, 71% from the free throw line, and getting you 1.1 steals per game. So LeBron James is having a fantastic season. He's one of the front runners for MVP in the season. I think now with sort of the explosion of Donovan Mitchell in the Utah Jazz, I think Donovan Mitchell has a good chance to take over the number one spot as being a front runner. But I think the MVP, the other things are going to go into it, because now, given the fact that the Lakers are going through what they're going through, and if somehow LeBron manages to keep this team afloat, then an argument can be made for him. And LeBron is having a great season. The Lakers, you know, they lost some key pieces over the offseason and made some key additions this season, over the offseason now, with some new players that they had coming in. With Dennis Schroeder, who's a point guard. They picked up another a wing defender in Wesley Matthews, who can defend at a pretty high level and also hit threes and stretch the floor. They went and got Marc Gasol to replace Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee. And they also picked up the reigning sixth man of the year, Montrezl Harrell, who was a former 18-8 player for the Los Angeles Clippers down the hallway. So they ended up picking him up and adding him to their bench, which gave them a big boost coming off the bench, because the Lakers also lost a lot of key pieces, with Rajon Rondo, Danny Green, and others. So the Lakers brought in some new players this year. They're one of the top defensive teams in the NBA. If I look at the NBA rankings on defense, the Lakers are the number 2 ranked defense in the NBA. So they play a lot of great defense. If I look at their overall team stats here, they're averaging about 113 points per game, but they're holding opponents to 106 points per game, which is pretty impressive. So the Lakers are one of these solid teams. If I can pull up some of their other stats here, they're one of the shot blocking teams. They're one of the top shot blocking teams in the NBA, getting about blocking about 6 shots per game. So the Lakers are one of the good teams in the NBA, one of the best teams rather in the NBA, not just one of the good teams in the NBA. And currently in the Western Conference, they're at the number 2 spot in the Western Conference. Now, let's talk about the news by Anthony Davis. You all know that Anthony Davis has been suffering tendonitis. Now, tendonitis is something that I've actually had in the past, right? A number of years ago, I used to run a lot. I used to run quite a bit, probably 4, sometimes 5 times a week. I used to sprint just for fun, not professionally, anything like that, or competitively, just for myself. And what happens is, once you do that type of activity a lot and you put a lot of stress on your tendons, they start to get sore. And it got to the point where it got so bad that whenever I would wake up, whenever I got out of bed, for me to walk, I would be in a lot of pain on both of my feet. Whenever I would start running, like when I would initially start to run, my tendons would be really, really tight. The only time they would start to feel better is when I got some heat in them, like when I built up a sweat. So usually when I started to run, after the first 10 to 15 minutes, when I got a sweat in and then some heat went into them, then I would start feeling a lot better. But it's something very painful. And that's what Anthony Davis has been suffering. Now, it caused him to miss 2 games, or missed a game or 2, because he had to sit down because they said he was going through some soreness in his tendons. So he caused him to miss a game. And then last night, or 2 nights ago, whatever it was, I think he pulled something. Now, that particular injury that he suffered, I'm not sure what that is, because the type of injury that I had, especially when I didn't have the right running shoes, or when my sneakers had completely degraded, especially in the soles. For me, the pain was I couldn't even run properly. My mechanics were completely off because the pain was so much every step I took. So what he went through last night with that particular, or some nights ago when he had that particular injury, I don't know specifically what that is. Right now, let's talk about AD on the court. AD on the court this year, I've said, has not been as consistent. He hasn't been consistent, and he wasn't playing to the level that he was playing last year. Last season, he averaged 26 points per game. This year, his scoring is down to 22 and a half. His rebounds are down as well. Last year, he was averaging about 9 rebounds. His assists are down this year. His shot blocking is down this year. His field goal percentage went up, but his 3-point percentage is also down 4 percentage points. But the most surprising stat of all is his free throw percentage. They're down about 13 or 14 percentage points, which to me is a bit surprising. And I said earlier that AD is not playing up to the level that his co-star LeBron is, and I meant that. And I also said that I don't believe that he's the type of guy that's going to lead the Lakers to the promised land post LeBron James. I never thought that. As somebody that supported the Lakers probably for the last 10-15 years, given the fact that my favorite player, Kobe Bryant, played with the Lakers, and I know the type of person. Obviously, I never knew Kobe Bryant personally, but I watched a lot of interviews about him, and to be the type of person that can lead that organization needs to be very mentally tough, very mentally aggressive. They need to be durable. They need to be like just completely committed to winning and almost obsessive about it. And if you think of the players that have brought championships to that organization, you think of Shaq, you think of Magic Johnson, you think of Kobe Bryant. These LeBron James, these players on a different wavelength mentally, and I just didn't see Anthony Davis as being that guy. And some people felt a type of way about it, but I just don't see him as that. I just don't see him as that guy. Now, the news came out yesterday that Anthony Davis is going to miss 2 or 3 weeks of games, and that's roughly he's probably going to miss around 10 to 12 games. To me, that's a devastating loss. It really is. It really is a devastating loss. Number one, given the fact of how tough the Western Conference has been. The Western Conference is tough, and teams are jockeying for position. If you look at the Western Conference standings right now, you have the Jazz at number 1, the Lakers at number 2, the Clippers at number 3, the Suns at number 4, the Trailblazers, Spurs, Nuggets, Warriors. But all of these teams are playing pretty well. Put this into perspective, okay? Of all of the teams below the Lakers, every single one of those teams is on a winning streak. The Clippers on a 4-game winning streak. The Suns on a 6-game winning streak. The Trailblazers on a 4-game winning streak. The Spurs on a 2-game winning streak. The Nuggets on a 3-game winning streak. The Warriors at the 8th seed are on a 1-game winning streak. Then you have the Grizzlies that are on a winning streak. And then you have the Utah Jazz, which have won the last 8 games. So it is just crazy the amount of movement that's happening in the Western Conference as far as teams. And also a lot of those teams from like 5 all the way to 8, their losses are they're not separated by a lot of losses. If you look at the number 3 seed to the number 8 seed, they're only separated by three losses here, 3 or 4 losses, right? The Lakers only have 1 more loss than the Clippers. So depending on how the Lakers play in the stretch of games that Anthony Davis is going to be out, it is conceivable that the Lakers could either stay afloat. That's one possibility, absolutely. But they could also drop like a number of spots. They could drop from probably the number 2 spot all the way down to the number 6 or 7 seed if other teams keep playing well and the Lakers don't, right? The Western Conference is just that competitive. It's not like the Eastern Conference where, like, you know, you could play poorly and still have the Philadelphia 76ers have an 18-10 record. They have the number 1 seed. The Milwaukee Bucks have a 16-11 record, and they have the number 2 seed. With that type of record, that gets you a 7th or 8th seed in the Western Conference. So it's a completely different thing in the Western Conference, and that's something that's going to that the Lakers are going to have to face. Another thing, and I think the most alarming thing apart from the fact that AD is going to be out for these 2 to 3 weeks, is the fact that now what's going to happen? Are you going to ask LeBron to start playing 38 to 40 minutes a game? That's going to be ludicrous to ask the guy to play those many minutes at this point in his career. Okay, I remember when Kobe Bryant, at the age of 34, ruptured his Achilles tendon. And at a certain point, because he was so dogged about the Lakers making the playoffs, that he took it upon himself to play so many minutes in all those games. And Kobe was playing above 40 minutes a game, and at a certain point, his body just broke down. Now, LeBron James is probably the most durable superstar the NBA has ever seen, but I don't think it's going to be wise for the Lakers all of a sudden to start playing him major minutes. So the Lakers could be in big trouble given the fact that they're missing their second best player for the next 2 to 3 weeks. Then he'll be reevaluated in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So it's conceivable that he can be out all the way up until All-Star break. And for me, that's a big loss, right? Now, are they going to fall out of the playoff picture? No, right? I think the Lakers are a very good team, especially on the defensive side of the floor, where they can hang their hat. And this is one of the things about having a great defensive team. When you lose maybe a little bit of your scoring, if your defense is still solid, it gives you a shot every single night, especially if you're able to keep games close going into fourth quarters. So for me, the question is, will they be able to maintain the number 2 seed? I think it's something worth looking at. And what do you think is going to happen with the Lakers over the next month, given the fact that Anthony Davis is going to be out? So what I want to know from you guys is, what do you guys think? Whatever your thoughts are, as far as how you think the Lakers are going to be, how you think the Lakers are going to be able to stay afloat over the next month, next 3 to 4 weeks. Please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below about this topic. Again, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Again, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out the next video that we have coming up. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro. Wishing you guys an amazing day and catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.